All right. Now, we've got the 80-50. We found out they're at 12 this morning. So, as I understood the 80, that was to look at operational costs. So how much of the 80 has left the building?
Senator Marisa Purvis-Smith, Deputy Secretary, Aviation Response. The $80 million was a loan to the administrators to run the administration and RECs throughout the convening period through to 30 June.
How much has been loaned? How much has been left the building of the loan?
About approximately $25 million.
Okay, thank you. And what's that been used for specifically?
So to run the RECs business, so operate the regional airline.
So to pay wages?
It will be anything that is needed to pay wages.
Like fuel,
ground staff, things that are needed to run the regional business.
The Aviation Response Task Force within the department, how is that engaging with stakeholders specifically?
Senator, we have engaged with stakeholders. We've met with any regional airline or stakeholder who have reached out to us to meet. We've also reached out to them, to regional airlines and to associations to meet as well. We've met with state officials to keep them up to date.
Which state officials?
All states where RECs has routes, so New South Wales, Tasmania, Queensland, WA, Victoria.
Thank you. So in their Department of Transport?
And South Australia, sorry. For the majority of them, the Department of Transport. In some states, they also include other parts of their bureaucracy.
Such as?
So for New South Wales, I think it's their Cabinet Office, and in Tasmania, it's their Department for Tourism as well.
With respect to, when was the task force set up?
So when RECs went into administration on at the end of July, we brought in people to work on RECs. So at the very beginning, we set up the task force informally, not knowing how long it would go for. At the beginning, it was meant to be a short period. The administrators had convened the voluntary administration for a short period of time. As it became apparent that that convening period had been extended, then we set up a more formal task force.
When did you set up the formal task force?
It would have occurred over time. I might ask my colleague Ms Werner to see if she can give a bit more of a timeline.
Just a date will be fine when it was formalised. Was it formalised by the Minister, or was it something Mr Betts or yourself, Ms Purvis-Smith?
It was within the department, so I spoke to the Secretary on what we were doing, how many people we needed, and as we were going to and briefing government and going through cabinet processes, we set up the task force more formally.
Okay. Does anyone have
an actual date?
A week?
Senator Stephanie Werner, First Assistant Secretary, Aviation Response Task Force. The task force was formally established in the department as an organisational unit in mid-August.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms Werner. Mid-August. In terms of engaging with the stakeholders, run me through the list of who was met with prior to Christmas 2024.
Prior to Christmas 2024, Ms Werner might have
Thank
a
you,
list.
Ms Werner.
There are, if I may say, first up though, there are some organisations and companies who have met with us who have asked to remain confidential and asked us not to provide the names of the company who have met with us. So, if possible, I would like to respect that.
Of course.
So, we might the list we will provide won't have all of the
Exhaustive.
names. That's correct, Senator.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. So prior to Christmas 2024, members of...
Just say to the end of the year 2024, sorry. Yep.
So we met with the CEO of the Regional Aviation Association of Australia, Mr Rob Walker, on the 9th of August and the 20th of December. We met with the CEO of SkyTrans, Mr Alan Milne, on the 17th of December. We had discussions with Virgin and Qantas during the course of the administration. Those are the names that I have that I'm happy to read out.
There are other companies that we've met with who have asked us not to divulge
No,
their
that's
names.
fine. So, in terms of the sale process that we've discussed earlier today, post-Christmas, Ms Werner.
Thank you, Senator. So we also met with the D.I.T.R.D.C.A in February. We met with SkyTrans again in February. We've met with Link Airways in February.
Anyone else who doesn't want to be mentioned? 2 or 3? 4? I don't expect you to read them out.
I think there's about 3.
About 3. And in 2024, 3 or 5, 10? You didn't meet with the TWU?
4.
At all?
No, Senator.
No, we didn't meet with TWU.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so in terms of the sale process, are you involved at all in that process, or is it completely independent?
I can take you through a little bit of the sale process about how the administrators have explained to us how it will work and where we will engage.
I want to understand where you will engage.
Okay. If I may quickly, there is a 3-phase process. The first phase has kicked off earlier this week, actually last week, midweek, which is a pre-qualification phase. There is a second phase, which is the non-binding indicative offer phase, where parties who have been taken through to that phase provide a non-binding indicative offer. Mm-hmm. Then there is the third phase, which is following the NBIOs, non-binding indicative offers. The administrators will select a short list of bidders to take through to for them to do more due diligence and through to the binding bid phase. That is the phase where we will engage with a short list of bidders.
Right. How long do you anticipate it to be between the pre-qual and receiving a short list?
I can give you indicative dates that the administrator has provided us. So indicative dates, the pre-qualification phase will go through until the first week of March, so as a short period. The NBIO phase starts then and goes through until through until the end. So the non-binding indicative offer phase, phase 3, starts in the first or second week of April and goes through until through until maybe the third week of May.
Okay. And it's at that point that the department or the government gets involved with that short list?
So the department will engage with shortlisted bidders during that phase.
Because we'll be in an election by then, so no one else will be able to engage in that process. Okay, so there's no way we're seeing a buyer for Rex before this side of the election, given that process. Thank you for outlining only the indicative time frame from the
If I'm
administrators.
right, Senator, yes, the
You know, I'm
administrators
very
have
clear.
said that it is
Very
an indicative timetable.
Caveats accepted. Has the government or the department provided any instructions to the administrator regarding the sale process? Minimum service requirements. We want those regional routes where Rex is the only provider to be maintained. Like, are there any sort of minimum standards of service that have been?
We have provided what the government has announced in terms of the conditions of providing a reasonable level of service to regional and remote communities. We will go into the detail and negotiate with bidders in phase 3. There is some material very similar to what was in the press release and the government announcement being provided to the market at the moment.
Does the department have its own view of what a minimum standard provision to the regions would look like, or are you taking advice wholly and solely from the administrator in what's possible?
I think it's a bit of both, Senator. So it'll also depend on what the bidders provide as well.
Do you see the opportunity where there'd be greater service provision to regional communities as a result of this process than currently exists?
That would be speculation. I wouldn't like to speculate.
Well, I would like to speculate that that could be an outcome. What measures is the government taking to facilitate a market-based solution?
So the government, I think, as you know, is funding the administration through to 30 June. They supported the administrators going to court to make an application to extend the convening period to 30 June. That allows a better prospect of a successful sale. The government is also providing support to a potential bidder and their bid to enable a successful sale process, as it has announced. And that is what we will negotiate during the third phase of the sale process.
So that could include regulatory changes that are at the discretion of the minister or the department to facilitate a sale over and above financial considerations.
It would depend on what a bidder asks for. So bidders will be asked to put their ask in their offer. They will be asked to put what they're asking of government.
So that could include slots into Sydney?
So the minister has made some slot directions to waive the 80-20 rule for regional slots for Rex in upcoming, to allow any potential bidder to know that they will have regional slots.
But could a bidder potentially ask for more slots to make it financially viable?
I don't think that there is, again, that's speculation. A bidder will ask for whatever a bidder thinks it needs. Whether the government agrees to that is a negotiation.
What sort of forms of support is the government considering for shortlisted bidders?
So again, Senator,
whatever they ask for, you'll consider. Every offer is on the table.
Again, Senator, it is a case-by-case basis.
Yep.
So we don't want to give something that a bidder might not need. So we are negotiating and discussing with bidders on a case-by-case basis.
So what incentive is there for the administrator to actually find another buyer outside of you, of the government? Is there an incentive for the administrator to actually find an alternative to the buyer of last resort?
The bidder, well, the
in this process?
The administrators need to go through the cost of a sale process, and they under the Corporations Act have to maximise the outcome for creditors. So their
doesn't
their
answer
incentive,
my question.
their incentive is to get the best sale outcome.
But the government's the buyer. If all the bids are on the table,
The government is not a bidder in the sale process, Senator.
is it a condition of sale that the airline continues to fly?
If it's a sale as a going concern, then it's sale as a business rather than as a sale of as parts.
This is one of the concerns. Is there a potential for the government to be outbid and the airline still wound up?
The government is not a bidder in the sale process, Senator.
So if the only bids on the table are to sell for parts and break the airline up, per se, at that point, like, is the government wanting to keep the airline going and therefore the service provision? Or will it be outbid by somebody that's saying, you know what, we can do this if we grab these parts and keep our SARBs in the air?
So again, I go back to the government's not being outbid because it's not a bidder in the sale process. So if the government, if it gets to the point where the other options are on the table other than a sale outcome, it means that there has been no
outcome. It could be a sale and parts outcome.
That's not part of the sale process. The sale process that the administrators are undertaking is to sell the Rex regional business as a going concern,
Right.
as a business,
As a whole entity.
as an entity and as a business to continue to fly.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Purvis-Smith. Team, that's it for me.
Okay.